Uh, this is Dale Pinkert, and everyone's been celebrating what's been happening in crypto, specifically Bitcoin, and the alts are going bananas too. And it's one thing to speculate and be a holder, it's another thing to turn it into a business. And that's why Beau Turner is here. He facilitates people that are interested or already are Bitcoin mining, and that there are probably landmines in that, Beau, like there are in trading, and you have to go through a process of maybe making the wrong decisions for a while until you get it right. Welcome to TradeGATEHub, Beau. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me, Dale. Appreciate you taking the time.
All right. Well, we were just talking off camera uh, that you went to SMU and the Mustangs are having a great season, and I'm a big college football fan. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey in financial stuff? I read that you were a real estate investor, and your friend that referred me to you said that you had gotten out of real estate and that at Abundant Mines, what you're doing with Bitcoin mining has become your full-time passion. And how did you get there?
Yeah, you're totally right. So just like trading, there's plenty of pitfalls in Bitcoin mining, and I stumbled through all of them. But early on, I was a engineering management and information systems major out of SMU. I went straight from that into being a full-time real estate investor, built my own real estate investing company, and I just knew that I was not a fit to work for someone else. So going and being someone's engineer at their firm was not a personality fit for me. So I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Well,
And so real estate.
SMU, they're Mustangs. They roam free on the range. All right.
Exactly right.
I mean, they're not in the corral, in a corporate shell. So, living out your destiny as a maverick and a Mustang.
I think freedom is probably the core value for all entrepreneurs, and I'm no different in that sense.
Right.
But real estate was my chosen path to wealth, and I thought that that was going to be it, and it was for 10 plus years. But I really caught the Bitcoin bug, and the big distinction that I made going from real estate into Bitcoin was I didn't want to lose the ability to generate cash flow. As you know, Bitcoin is not a cash flowing asset in itself.
Right. Right.
So I was drawn to mining. I had enough data center experience and engineering coursework that let me know that I would be a good fit to get into mining, as computer heavy and energy heavy as it is. And I had some stumbling blocks. I tried to get onboarded with two different hosts. One was in Sweden in 2015 and another in Georgia in 2021. And both of those experiences ended in a fiery ball of lost money. So
Okay.
finally I said, I know that this works. It's just a question of finding the right person to work with. So I built the company that I wish that I had had when I was getting into it. And that's why we started Abundant Minds.
Okay. So, interesting. And you bring up things about mining that I never knew were true. For example, you talk about how it could be friendly, environmentally friendly, Bo. And everything I've read is it's such a drain on utilities that it's actually adding to the carbon footprint. And you talk about how it could run utilities as well. Can you tell me, someone like a neophyte, how Bitcoin mining can do all these wonderful things for the world besides make people money that are mining it?
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest misunderstandings, I think, in mining in general, and it applies to any kind of financial wisdom, right? There's all these misconceptions about what is truly right to do. And one of the reasons that I was so passionate about mining early on was I realized that the story being told about it was not based in truth. And so people will tell you that it's wasting energy, it's boiling the oceans, all of this honestly
Yeah.
crap. That's just not true. It's the most renewables powered industry in the world. It's over 50% renewable energy is powering the mining network. It also has the best characteristics of any kind of energy resource that you could imagine. You can interrupt it at any time. So if energy is expensive or unavailable, you can turn mining off without any damage to the business model. That's not something that can be said for traditional data centers owned by, say, Meta, Google, these other companies. And so it makes it this really perfect puzzle piece that you can slide into a community. And if they have miners, they have a good chance at making their energy cheaper and more abundant. It's also really well integrated into renewable energy systems because you can turn it on and off. It can essentially ramp up and down with either solar peaks or wind peaks, and then turn off when they have a lack of energy.
How does
And
it produce energy though, Bo?
so
Uh,
it doesn't produce energy, it acts like a battery. So
okay.
you can constantly dump energy into it because, one of the misunderstandings about energy, Dale, is that we don't have enough of it. But the reality is 30% of all the energy that we generate is just wasted. So a great stat that colors this out for people is the state of California alone curtails more energy than the bottom 30 energy poor countries in the world every year, just from solar and wind excess. So imagine how much cheaper your energy could be if that could be used and paid for by someone. And that's essentially what Bitcoin miners do. You can think of them as a trash recycling plant where they're taking energy that nobody else wants to use, paying for it, and then giving that economic utility back to the grid, making it cheaper for everybody else.
Wow. So, I mean, that's a completely different story. So yeah, being able to have that flexibility of when to be using energy. And so you don't run your mines 24/7.
So we have the benefit of being able to run almost 24/7, 365. There's only a
Oh,
couple of periods of the year where it makes sense for us to turn down and where the community asks us to turn down. So those periods are about 2 weeks in the summer and then a couple weeks in the winter as well, when it's the very hottest part of the year or the very coldest part of the year.
okay. So when I wake up in the morning, Bo, I turn on my screen and I'm looking at where's gold, where's oil, where's stock indexes. Why don't you tell everyone what number you look at the first thing in the morning to know what your day's going to be like?
So for Bitcoin specifically, obviously people like to pay attention to the price, which we've had a happy few weeks in. I think we're up in the mid 90s now. I try not
Yeah.
to check the price every day because that doesn't matter as much. If you're a miner, there's one metric that matters most to you, and that's called the hash price. And that simply explained is just a way of telling how much money each unit of computing power earns you per day. So when people are freaking out about whether Bitcoin's at 50K or 80K or 150K, we're thinking about how much income we generate for each unit of electricity and each unit of compute. And
Is it
at least in our business model, it's a lot more stable just because we don't have to worry so much about the daily Bitcoin price. If it's at 90K, for example, we're producing it for 40,000 in one of our facilities. So we've got a healthy margin there.
okay? So it's not price sensitive, the profit margins that you would have, that higher prices don't necessarily generate higher prices for the miners, like they do for example, legacy mines, minerals, for example.
Yeah, so Bitcoin's this really unique system where when price goes up or price goes down, it does affect miner profitability, but there's all these other mechanisms that come into play. One of them being the difficulty adjustment, and then another one being transaction fees. So you've got these other levers that you can pull that change whether you're profitable or not as a miner.
Okay, so uh, say I wanted to get started, Bo. How would you counsel me? And do you take people that are perhaps from another field, say they're a trader and they're interested because they're, residual income or cash flow business is not trading. You're only as good as your last trade, your last month, your last quarter. So having passive income and residual income is very attractive to traders. It might be a great market for you. How do you go about becoming a Bitcoin miner through Abundant Minds?
So working with us, it's super easy. If you just go to our website, abundantminds.com, you can set up a call with a member of my team to see if it's a fit for you. And I always say to people, it doesn't have to be a huge part of your portfolio, but if you don't have anything to do with it, let's say you didn't start now and you wake up 10 years from now, you might wonder a lot why the world looks the way it looks. Because data centers, energy, the reinvention of money, these things are huge mega trends that if you don't pay attention to, you're going to feel kind of lost. So I
I
love
already
working
do,
with.
Beau. All right, I mean, to me, a wallet is made out of leather. So people are, dragging me into the 21st century. And I think that there's, the fear of the unknown
Mm.
is what, do what you know is kind of a mantra where you have to flip it around and have a new paradigm to do something you don't know, but learn to do something else to widen your horizons and grow as you want to grow your wealth.
Not everybody needs to be an engineer or a technologist, but if someone had the opportunity to tell you about Google, Facebook, Amazon, all of these huge companies in 2012, and you woke up today and you had no exposure to them, you might be
Yeah.
kind of upset about not riding the largest trend of the last decade. And I think Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining are the same thing. So whether it's just a, 1 to 5% allocation just so that you have exposure and you have an incentive to learn, I think that it's just a mistake to ignore it altogether. And that's part of why we
Okay.
build our company is so that not only do people get access to this, access to the income, we didn't even talk about the tax benefits. When you're buying Bitcoin, doesn't really help you offset any tax. Whereas if you're buying computers and paying for energy to run those computers, that's a direct offset to income. So it's really this perfect strategy, in my opinion, for people that are either traders or real estate investors. They love getting passive income, but they're not sure what strategy might work for the next 10 years that worked for the last 10 years.
Okay. I have people that come to me that are new to trading and they say, Dale, I want to trade for a living. Can I do it with $10,000? And I say, sure, if you want to live under a bridge. Okay, so uh, what's it really take? And for someone to get started in a small way, say like you're talking about, not plunging into it, but tiptoeing into it, and like a trader would trade small contracts or minis or micros. What's a minimum for getting involved in learning the business?
Yeah, so I think that the best range to get in is about the range of a property, so somewhere between 100 and 250,000 to start out with to get appreciable income, and that should get
Okay.
you several $1,000s a month. And that varies, of course, that goes way up when Bitcoin price goes up. But we'll serve people that want to buy a single unit. So call it about a $10,000 entry is more than enough just so that you can get a taster, get a single unit that's running, learn the process, get access to the educational materials, and start getting a few $100 in passive income and see what it feels like.
How long to get up and running?
Right now, it's taken our clients about 2 weeks, but we plan to have some inventory on hand so that people can get started next day if they want.
Okay, and what makes Abundant Minds different than other people out there that are looking to bring people into mining? And is there any kind of override situation for you when you bring in new miners that are working under your umbrella?
So I consider ourselves very different, if nothing else, because the experiences that I had getting into this industry were very poor. And so one of the things that you're going to see is different from us is that we absolutely take care of every person that works with us, whether they've got 100 machines, one machine, 1,000 machines. You're all family to us. I built this for my friends and family and for myself, really. So we want to see everybody have a positive experience. And the second thing is we're in the best part of the world really to run this. In the Pacific Northwest, we've got such an ideal climate. The machines last longer. They're
Okay.
happier throughout the year. We're using renewable energy off the hydropower network. It's really just a Garden of Eden, if you will, for Bitcoin
Wow.
miners.
Okay, so that's interesting information. So geography can also play a role. So, say for example, you live in the desert, and you need cooling a good part of the year. Uh, especially, I mean, just to be inside, let alone run a bunch of computers. Is there a disadvantage to that climate?
There is every climate has its own advantages and disadvantages. You'll see a lot of miners in Texas, for example, because Texas has really strong energy markets, very reliable and cheap energy. But the issue there is that depending on where you are, it might be super hot throughout the year, quite dusty. If you're close to the coast, it's going to be really salty air, humid
Okay.
air. So all of these things play a factor into the lifespan of a physical piece of equipment, right? You're dealing with a physical object. It's not just a
Yeah.
financial instrument. It's an actual physical piece of computing equipment. So whenever you can get that into an environment where it's happy, where it's going to
Yeah.
run as long as it possibly can, your ROI is going to be higher and it's going to last much longer for you.
And what is that machine? And would you have any pictures or anything to show us what it looks like?
Yeah,
There
let
is a
me see.
screen share on Zoom here, so a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Let me pull it up for you.
Okay. So you're in the Northwest. Are you in the Seattle area
I
up there?
personally live in Bend,
Oh,
Oregon.
nice. Beautiful.
And I used to live in Texas, originally from Alabama, but Bend is easily my favorite place that I've ever lived.
Okay.
So I'm sharing my screen right
Okay,
now.
there it is. All right, I see it.
This is what one of these computers looks like, and it's
Okay.
about the size of a
Desktop.
desktop tower.
Okay.
The difference between this and your standard desktop tower is that within this machine, the single machine, it's pulling enough energy to power your entire house.
Wow.
So a single one of these units takes up quite a bit of energy. You're unlikely to be able to run more than two or three of them on your home circuit. If you want to scale up to 10, 50, 100, or 1,000 machines, you need essentially an entire town's worth of energy, which is really the main value add for people that are getting into this at scale.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot of logistics, it's quite a lot of engineering and setup, and getting that energy procured is the main bottleneck for people getting into this at size.
Okay, and you help people with that
We
and
do.
help them plan for that. How do you do that?
So the easiest way is that when people work directly with us, and we're building these facilities ourselves. So people are coming to
Okay.
us usually for a fully managed solution. Our
Okay.
main clients are not looking for another job. They're looking for some way to get income that doesn't take extra time. And so we handle everything from soup to nuts, getting the equipment, putting it in the facility, managing it, repairing it, and then managing your payouts. For people that want to go and build it themselves per se, we do have consulting packages,
I
but
see.
you would know
Okay.
as well as anybody, timing is super important when you're either trading or mining. And so getting into the market at the right time is a huge factor in what your ROI timeline looks like. So in periods like this where price is running up, you might take 12 to 18 months to build a new mining site and see most of the gains of that cycle behind you and actually finish your facility right as you should have been thinking about risking off a little bit. So
Oh,
we help
interesting.
people get started very quickly.
All right. So then a pullback in Bitcoin. I mean, I'm a technician. I have targets of about 126. Um, it would be advantageous for the mining industry to see a huge correction in the price of Bitcoin then, wouldn't it?
When you're mining and the price goes up, your profit margins go up. But by the same token, if prices go down and you stay on the network, it actually gets less competitive on the network. So
Because,
miners are
okay.
incentivized to have a very long time horizon and deploy capital for long periods of time. If you're trying to turn on and turn off with every price movement, you're going to get shaken out of the market.
Okay. All right. What's the most important advice you could give to somebody that has tried it before, it didn't work out, or to a passive investor that might be looking at other ways to deploy $250,000? How would you close the deal with him? Say, for example, well, Beau, I'm thinking about, the stock market's been great. I'm just going to deploy it into ETFs and just stay with the market. Why should I try this over just being a passive investor in equities?
So if you look at the charts, Bitcoin has been the best performing asset of the last 15 years
Yeah.
pretty handily.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be a similar story for the next 15. If you have no exposure to this industry at all, I think mining is a great way to get in because you're getting in with an income strategy, with a depreciation strategy. It's much like being a real estate investor in the world of Bitcoin and not trying to speculate on price. So I would tell anybody who doesn't have enough exposure, this is a great way to get in and not feel like you have to chase up or down in the markets. And if you've already thought about working with another host, another mining host, or you've already tried it before, part of the reason that Bitcoin is such a beautiful asset is that it has no counterparties. So you actually own the asset, it's a bearer asset. You don't have anybody who's custodying it for you. When you get into mining, if you don't build your own facility, you're introducing a new counterparty. So it really pays you to pick that counterparty. It doesn't matter if you get cheaper energy if the guy runs off with your machines or they don't know how to manage it and your machines get destroyed over a very short time period. So that was my mistake. If I could advise anybody, don't make the same mistake I did. Be like one of our best clients who's got hundreds of units with us. He's got hosting at several facilities, not just at ours. And he told me yesterday, I want to move everything over to you guys because even though it's a more premium price, you guys don't nickel and dime me. I don't have 30 or 40 units constantly in repair because you guys actually take care of them. So the way that I'd sum it up is going for the cheapest option might be the most expensive mistake you ever make.
I like that. I mean, what happens when you go to a dollar store and you buy something cheap? It breaks,
Exactly.
right? And
You
you
get
know
what you
what?
pay for.
While you were talking, I have a tagline for your company.
What is it?
Okay. Avoid landmines with abundant minds.
I love that.
All right. And really very interesting, uh, Beau, what you're doing. And I wish you, great success. And, I think that it's interesting. I may look into it and we may have a conversation about this. How do you go about finding business?
So for us, the main source of business that we're pushing into right now is education. So really
Okay.
just creating content that helps people understand not just the industry, but the common pitfalls. And
Okay.
I think that's the greatest way to build trust is to
It
just
is.
educate people, not hold anything back. Uh, One of my favorite quotes from a coach of mine is that your marketing should help more people than your business ever does. And so more people should avoid mistakes, save money, make more money just from the free information that we share than ever actually work with us. And I think that only makes us a better company.
A good coach can change the game. A great coach can change a life.
Hmm,
And
beautiful.
so, well, I'm really nice to meet you. And I think that you're going to grow like a mushroom. And
Appreciate it, Dale.
yeah, so let's keep in touch. Let me know what's going on with Abundant Minds, and if there's anything I can do to help you spread the word, I like your mission.
Sounds great. Can't wait to get you onboarded in
Uh,
mining.
all right, so Beau Turner, everybody, check him out at Abundant Minds. That's his X handle, and you could go to his stream. Do you have a YouTube channel where you're educating people about this?
Yes, so our YouTube, Instagram, and our X handles are all at Abundant Minds.
Okay, learn and earn with Beau. All right, Beau. It was great meeting you. And tell, what's your friend's name again?
Oh, Neil?
Yeah, Neil. Tell Neil thank you. And he's a great ambassador, Neil Jacobs, for Bitcoin. I've talked to him quite a few times, and I could tell why you guys, he's a believer and committed, and you guys are probably a great team. So,
It's easy to get into something when you think you're going to make money, and it's really got staying power when you're on a mission. And
yeah.
I would say we're both on a very important mission to each of us.
Okay. Well, just don't pull a George Bush and do a mission accomplished thing. Or recently like Fed Chair Powell did when he cut rates by half a point. So stay humble and grow, buddy. Thank you
Appreciate
very
you, Dale.
much.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for,
me on.
it was great talking to you, Beau. Take care. All right, that's a wrap, everyone. So this is recorded, and you guys could watch it again later on and consider a different avenue, especially, if you're younger than me and you have the next 15 years to really think about your future. Because, I've been fighting it for a while, trading it, and it definitely is the new wave. Thank you. See you, Beau.